Rin versus Isagi, probably the best rivalry in Blue Lock and one that dates all the way back to the beginning of the series in the second selection. Rin, a player who is super talented with almost everything to offer, and Isagi, a player who's working towards that talent, proving himself every game. A classic trope of rivals with both of them fighting for the #1 spot, the whole point of Blue Lock. So which one is better? They're both long-term rivals who have just performed the best game in their careers, and we're going to be answering that question between them. Isagi versus Rin is one of the biggest debates or questions in the community, so we also got to take into account their future potentials, current feats, and all that other stuff. So this is going to be a super fun debate. This is pretty much going to be a comparison video with my opinion at the end, comparing them pre-NEL, current NEL, and then of course the future of Blue Lock, like their rivalry and PXG versus Bastard Munchen, which might be the last time we actually see them duke it out against each other. I think it's essential to know which one is better, because again, Blue Lock is all about creating the single best striker, and both of them are amazing strikers. We'll very quickly start at the beginning of their rivalry. I still think this is very important, especially the U20 match. Rin is introduced in the second selection as an absolutely broken character and the younger brother of Itoshi Rin, which is crazy. This is just the younger brother, and he absolutely destroys some of the best players in Blue Lock. Isagi at the time of the second selection wasn't too good. He didn't have off the ball or a vision of the field the first time he played against him, and then evolved at a super fast rate in the next matchup. I'll straight up say it now, Isagi's rapid rate of growth is the reason why it's a debate between these two. Even now in the NEL, every single game he plays, he's constantly learning something new or proving his formulas to work, both of which is catching him up to Rin. Even with all that growth though, Isagi still loses to Rin in almost every compartment except for the inverse direct shot and the Bachara reading, which is also the reason why Rin picked him. Every skill that Isagi had, Rin had as well, or did it even better. Even some of the more hidden things like taking control of your teammates or being a leader, Rin was also able to bring out the fullest potential of everyone on his team. The second selection, what we get from this is Rin is miles ahead of Isagi, but Isagi evolved super quickly, and why I mention this is again because Isagi's rate of evolution is important for later on, and we see that going into the U20 and the NEL. The second selection marks the last time Isagi got beat badly by Rin. I'm hoping this stays true come time for the PXG match. As we see in the U20, Isagi evolves rapidly yet again for this game. With the knowledge of flow state, moving reflexively, and using his vision of the game, Rin literally considers him as equals, acknowledging that the game started to revolve around Isagi. So Isagi is barely reaching up to Rin in my opinion, but he's definitely closing the gap between them. It's like Isagi is improving from 50 to 100 and Rin is improving from 99 to 100 because he was already super talented. I still think Rin outperformed him here as well, especially with his performance at the end, but this is also a pre-Metavision Isagi, so that's important as well. The key factor here is that he was acknowledged to have an impact on the game by Rin himself and Sai as well, if we're just throwing that out there. So being beat once and then technically on or near the same level as him. And of course, I'm not saying raw skill wise. We all know Rin could kick better, dribble better, just do everything better during the U20. I don't think anyone would disagree with this. But when it comes to impact on a game, because that's what matters most in a match, they're pretty much on equal footing. When it came to reading the field and taking the best play, Rin and Isagi had the same level of thought. This is what Sai says about Isagi calling forth Rin's instincts, and we just know Isagi was synchronizing with Rin the whole game, covering his blind spots and stuff like that. I'm not going to spend too much time pre-NEL, you guys already know that, and we're all here for current NEL and the future of their rivalry, so let's hop into that. Isagi is a top 3 NEL player at the moment. I could say that with absolute confidence because of his performance in Ubers versus Bastard Munchen, scoring 2 goals, gathering teammates around him, improving his overall specs, something he lacked when compared to Rin. Isagi is definitely closing the gap between them. But the #1 thing, of course, is his metavision. Being able to use it the whole game and also just how insane it is, it's the big reason why Isagi is performing the way he is. He's able to get past teams, defend impossible shots, use other players efficiently, and shut down world-class talents like Prince and Snuffy. He even has a plan to stop miracle plays like the Nagi and Rayo combo, using egocentrism to figure out what they're gonna do. It's an ability that pretty much gives him the winning combination, and then he just needs to execute on it or not get outread, which isn't hard for Isagi since he's the king of adaptability. You guys already know how broken Metavision is, especially in Isagi's hand because he's all big brain and whatnot, but it's helping him rapidly improve, and that's the main point. When we take in consideration the striker of the U20, I think Blue Lock makes it obvious that one of the qualities they need to have is that their level of play helps improve everyone else on the pitch. We see it with Rin in the second selection, Shido in the U20 quite literally quoted by Aiku that a single striker alone awakened everyone else, and of course Isagi leading bastard players like Corona, Yukimiya, and Hiyori. There's plenty of more instances that can back up this claim, but the whole point is that they also need to lead the team to help themselves score goals. I think that's one of the quality Isagi has that is super prominent and hinted at for the rest of the series, moving forward, especially going into Bastard versus PXG. Yuri explains it well here. Players don't want to get devoured by Isagi, who is evolving rapidly, and then they themselves evolve to catch up to him, making them both evolve at a super fast rate. We see him influence almost every player on Bastard or use them to their fullest potential. I think Yukimiya is a good example of this, Kunigami with his lefty direct, and Raichi guarding Snuffy. He's also hinted at to take over the team, beating Kaiser in the goal race, Ness half acknowledging his skills, all the Blue Lock players on his side. Isagi will be able to bring out the fullest potential of everyone. So taking over the team as well, all his other weapons, which I'll talk about in a second, and that rapid rate of evolution will have to go against Rin's talent, which isn't a very easy debate. So we've established a few things. Obviously, the starting striker needs to be able to produce goals, lead the team or bring out the fullest potential of them, and in Isagi's case, he has metavision to help himself score, as well as everything else, and the fact that he can utilize other people's talents super well, to the point where it almost makes up for him being mediocre in height, dribbling, and stuff like that. It's part of his individuality that he can use other players. If this was a straight up debate, just a 1v1, Rin clears easily. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. There'd be no point for this video, but you do have a whole team and it's up to the players to utilize it or not. Like, compare Kunigami and Isagi. Kunigami's specs are definitely better than Isagi's, but he's not utilizing anyone else around him, which explains his poor performance. Kunigami pretty much needs to perform so well that his solo play makes up for the loss of teammates, and well, we all know how that's going. Isagi, on the other hand, isn't ambidextrous like him, doesn't have as good of a physique or other physical specs like height, but he's able to utilize other players to his advantage, and that makes up for all of that. His solo play doesn't need to be as good because he can use others. That's the difference between him and Kunigami. And that's why the debate between Rin and Isagi is super close. Isagi, who can use other players to make up for his mediocre individual play, versus Rin, who can also use other players and has an insane individual play. The answer might be obvious to you guys, but keep in mind that Isagi can still outperform Rin when it comes to using others, having a better vision of the game, and whatnot. We've seen it in the Uber's game. By doing that, he can help himself score goals or put himself in positions to score goals over Rin, who has an easier time due to his specs, and then they'll be on equal footing. I feel like I had to really enforce this point. Kaiser and Isagi is another prime example. We know Kaiser can easily score with Kaiser Impact, has better physical specs and overall rating, but with Isagi using Planet Hotline with Corona to score the first goal, and then Hiyori's synchronization for his second goal, Isagi outperformed Kaiser by using others. Even though he is easily beat in physical specs and weapons, he was able to close the gap between them, and I think that's super important going into the Rin versus Isagi debate. And that brings us right to Rin. With his recent hat trick in PXG versus Munchen, it boosted him up to at least top 3, especially since Bachira didn't play and Nagi didn't even score a goal. Now, current NEL Rin we still don't know too much about, but take in consideration his old feats and also just some pretty obvious assumptions, we can make out how good he is come time for PXG versus Bastard. Of course, Rin's standout point is the fact that he's one of the best, if not the best all-rounder in Blue Lock, having weapons in spatial awareness, strength, dribbling, and of course his shooting accuracy. In chapter 239 as well, we see Nagi says that he's evolved his overall specs beyond comprehension, and it's proven with that hat trick. He's also scored 2 goals before this, so he's tied with Barou for the most goals in the NEL, and I think the key takeaway from this is Rin's destroyer mode or flow state. We got a glimpse of this in the U20 towards the end, where he brings out his opponent's best weapon and absolutely destroys it. In my opinion, this is what separates the gap between Rin and Isagi in the U20, as Isagi was playing really good in the U20, but Rin's destroyer mode just separated them even further. So I seem to recognize that Rin was able to make that face, hinting that Rin hasn't gone in the flow state or used the destroyer mode in a while, so it must be a rare occurrence for him or something he needs to awaken. Rin even says himself that it felt new but nostalgic to him, and we know that he wants to use that side of him more, as it seems to be the strongest version of him that even beat Sai. This is where current NEL Rin comes in, and in PXG versus Munchen, we see Rin using it against Nagi here. Not even just his face that makes it obvious, but by beating Nagi in his own weapon, which is trapping and stopping his leg. This alone opens up so many possibilities. Maybe Rin could control his destroyer mode, or maybe this is his main playstyle now. So much stuff, and we have to take all of that in consideration against Isagi. So Rin is starting to develop or even master his absolute weapon, which is to destroy other weapons, and Isagi is starting to master metavision, both of them super great weapons. And now we have to compare the two. With Rin, he obviously has the better physical specs, even beating out Munchen City players who are known for their strength training. The whole team philosophy is built around that. Isagi is working on his physical specs as well. I think literally genetically he will always be worse than Rin, just unlucky genetics. But stuff like like his stamina and lefty direct are still pretty good, he was able to use metavision the whole Ubers match, and lefty direct gives him more options to score. However, Rin easily takes Isagi in physical specs in my opinion. I don't think anyone will disagree, but keep in mind my point earlier, Isagi can make up for all the things like dribbling by using other players, something we know he's good at, so it doesn't matter too much here in my opinion. Now earlier I was bringing up the point that the starting striker needs to be able to awaken their team so that everyone improves, including themselves. I think this is super important and hit it at multiple times, and we see both of them pull it off throughout the series. In Rin's case, we see in the second selection he challenges everyone to use their weapons to the max or utilizes other abilities like Tokimitsu for his stamina. But I do think Isagi takes the cake here. We see him literally awaken players since the start of BLUELOCK with Chigiri and most recently with Hiyori. Isagi is kind of forced to make up for his lack of physicality. That's why I think he has more experience in it compared to Rin, who can compensate with his godly talent. And don't get me wrong, Rin, since he does have better physical specs, can make up for not working with others. It's the opposite of Kunigami. I think his physical specs also make every single debate against Isagi closer, even if Isagi has the lead. Now the last thing we gotta talk about, the tiebreaker, it's their signature weapons. Of course with Isagi it's his metavision, and with Rin it's his destroyer flow state. In PXG versus Bastard Munin, we will see the results of this. I cannot wait, but I believe this is going to be a hard match for both. On Isagi's side, we know that he has Rin beat in using other players, but Rin, who has better physical specs and Destroyer's Eye, can shut down all the players before Isagi can even use them. But Isagi, who has an advanced metavision, can also bait Rin into using it, and then since he has so many options to choose from, hence why I think the author is giving him more players like Corona, Hiyori, and Raichi, he can plan around it. It's literally a game of who do you prefer more. I don't think one is in front of the other because both weapons pretty much counter each other. Like Rin can destroy someone in Isagi's plan, leading it to fail, but Isagi can use metavision to read Rin's Destroyer Eye, but Rin also has an insane vision of the game. I don't even know. This is seriously an open interpretation here. This debate is super close and it can go either way, depending on how you look at it. Me personally, the way I look at it, there are two ways. I think Isagi wins in an environment where he can utilize other players, but Rin wins in an environment where Isagi can't. I think the main reason why people pick Rin over Isagi is because his scoring potential is better than his, and it is. Like I said earlier, in a 1v1 environment, Rin easily sweeps Isagi. But in a team environment, Isagi utilizes other players that help both himself and the team. Not even utilizing it, evolves them so that they could both score goals. And that rapid evolution led them to win against the Ubers, even beating out new gen 11 talent like Lorenzo. Rin has to, and he most definitely will, target that relationship between Isagi and his teammates, since Isagi utilizing them leads to his growth as well. If Rin does that successfully, he beats Isagi, and if he doesn't, Isagi wins. Rin also does have the other help of members in PXG to do so. I'm not saying it's like a solo play, and I do think Rin will still get metavision or something along the lines of that since he was the OGI user. Imagine him teaming up with Shido or using Nanase or any of the other players will give Isagi a hard time in PXG, and that's why I say it depends. Isagi's adaptability as well, I don't think will allow Rin to take out his winning pieces, which again is Rin's win condition, to put Isagi in an environment where he can't use others. So now it's up to the author. Personally speaking, with Isagi's rapid rate of evolution, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins over Rin, and he already lost to him before. Rin is the only BLUELOCK rival that Isagi hasn't beat. I can't really give a full answer. It's up to you guys because they're so equal. I personally want Rin to win because I'm a Rin glazer, and he did just beat Manshine with a hat trick, a team Isagi and Bastard struggled with. But with Isagi training in the week 4 break, I think he'll gain something that will give him the upper edge against Rin. Plot reasons as well, this is Isagi's story, so it does make sense if he beats him and becomes the #1 striker. I think with this video, I just wanted to point out how close of a debate it is. Some other points as well, like Destroyer Eye versus Metavision, strikers needing to awaken their teammates, and again, it's a discussion video, so let me know what you guys think. Is Rin's physical specs, Destroyer Eye, and maybe even Metavision able to beat out a peak Isagi who has a whole team supporting him with his Metavision, adaptability, and everything else? I really wish I could give a definitive answer, but whoever does win this debate, in my opinion, will be the starting striker. There is no doubt in my mind. I think Rin and Isagi are the two closest in contention for it, but there will be a striker selection. I'm so confident in that, but that'll be a video for another day. Remember to give me your guys' thoughts in the comments below. This is a discussion video, and Rin versus Isagi is the closest debate in all of BLUELOCK. If you guys watched to the end, thank you so much for watching. PXG versus Bastard is one of the most hyped matches in the whole series, so best believe I'm gonna be making bangers for all throughout it. Catch the streams as well, where we actually read, react, and review the new chapters as soon as it releases. Always happening around Friday 10 to 11 a.m. PST, or whenever the chapter drops. My name's Hiryo. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.